you proposing taking away their guns?
Yes.
Enough prayers. Time for some action.
You want to take everyone's guns away.
Bingo. Enough prayers. Time for some action.
We're going to take your AR-15.
We're not going to give up. We'll find you.
We will launch a new age.
So, Japan's had a rough couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do a couple stories to lead up to the big one, of course, but I'll be very brief with this. First off, New York Daily News. Yu-Gi-Oh! Creator Takahashi Kazuki found dead off Japanese coast at age 60.
Oh, no.
Another theme throughout the show, men in their 60s. Just say that. So he was found
off the coast?
Off the coast, yeah, like in the water or something. I don't know what happened, but did you ever watch Yu-Gi-Oh?
I watched it. Yeah, I dabbled in the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I had my Blue Eyes White Dragon.
I've never watched or really got into Yu-Gi-Oh, so I don't know the culture, the whatever. So, but that was sad news for the popular anime culture, especially out in the West. Wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh on like Nickelodeon or something? Isn't that
I don't remember. I think it was a Cartoon Network thing. Had
Cartoon
most of the
Network.
anime.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's how the day started yesterday on 7/7. By the way, 7/7 yesterday. And then
does it have a death, a cause of death?
I think there's an investigation. That's what they said.
Mob hit.
Yeah, they just said there's an investigation that started. So I don't think they know anything yet. Yeah, which is strange. But I want to thank Sir Sigurd the Beast for informing me about this story, which is actually about a month old, but just in the context of Japan here and the theme and everything happening. CNN, Japan makes online insults punishable by 1 year in prison.
Yeah,
in wake of reality TV star's death. So basically, you can be jailed and fined for making insults online, I guess. And you can spend a year in jail if you're found guilty. The bill proved, and this is important because there's another so many themes. One is and I've talked about this in prior episodes, is sort of the rise of conservatism as a force in the global warfare, the right-left warfare that's being staged in the, World War III, NATO West versus Russia, China East type of setup. It says here, the bill proved controversial in the country, with opponents arguing it can impede free speech and criticism of those in power, which is exactly what Westerners and, constitutionalists would say to such a law. Don't you think?
I'm sorry. I tuned out a little bit.
Okay.
You're saying it's illegal for them to insult people in power?
Yes.
They go to jail for a year.
Yeah. So people in Japan brought up, hey, this is going to impede free speech. This is going to impede our ability to criticize people in power. So, yeah, this is sort of the chipping away. Now, there was a law, I guess, prior to the one they had here. It was a fine of $75 and a detention center of less than 30 days. That was the prior law. This new one is, obviously a lot more based on, I guess, a very popular reality television star named Hana Kimura. Committed suicide after some online cyberbullying or something like that. So, which is something we hear a lot, or not a lot maybe, but it's fairly common out here. And, imagine laws being put in place that are restrictive like this. And that leads us to this story. So that's sort of the sentiment in Japan. The big one, obviously, Shinzo Abe, former prime minister, was shot and killed in public yesterday, which is a kind of a big deal, especially in Japan, where gun laws are very much strict. I have the Reuters article here. Japan's Shinzo Abe sought to revive economy, fulfill conservative agenda. I think this is very interesting. So let's read this real quick here. It says July 8th, Shinzo Abe, Japan's longest serving prime minister, launched his Abenomics policies to lift the economy out of deflation, beefed up Japan's military, and sought to counter China's growing clout and historic two-term tenure. Abe, 67, appeared to have been shot during a campaign speech on Friday, national broadcaster NHK reported. The conservative lawmaker, who quit abruptly as premier in 2007 after 1 year in the post, swept back for a rare second stint in 2012, pledging to revive a stagnant economy, loosen the limits of a post-World War II pacifist constitution, and restore traditional values. He was instrumental in winning the 2020 Olympics for Tokyo, cherishing a wish to preside over the games, and even appeared as Nintendo video game character Mario during the Olympic handover.
We would never have a United States politician dress up as Mario for the Olympics.
Yeah, but
you got to give it to them.
What's an American cultural staple in like media or entertainment?
Like the NFL or something, you mean?
Maybe NFL. I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
I mean,
culturally.
Mario's one of them.
Well, I guess you're right. Mario is, but it originates in Japan. I'm just trying to think of something that started in America that I can, maybe Biden can dress up as.
Well, if you want me to get into Nintendo history, Gons,
I don't.
When Mario was still Japanese, he was called Jumpman. He did not get named Mario until he made it to the U.S. market.
Yeah, so
Japan,
racist Japan, we're like, yeah, we'll make him Italian. That's what we'll do.
Jumpman was Japanese. Mario is an Italian American, a proud Italian American.
Okay, so the article is pretty long and it goes into a lot of the history of Abe here. He first took office in 2006 as Japan's youngest prime minister since World War II. After a year plagued by political scandals, voter outrage at lost pension records, and an election drubbing for his ruling party, Abe quit, citing ill health. And then he came back later, and there was like a whole thing where he said this quote. Yeah.
Okay. No. If you got a quote there, I was going to say, I want to know how, and I want to know who, and I want to know why. Why is this guy so important, and who would want him dead?
Sure. He said, quote, and this is upon his return into politics. He said, quote, "From now on, I want to sacrifice myself as one lawmaker to make true conservatism take root in Japan." Yeah, think about that. That's pretty. And think about what I've been saying this whole time about how they're trying to build this conservatism uprising,
right?
And
it seems to be gaining traction around the world.
Gaining traction,
no matter what. Yeah.
And then so part of this, he launched this 3-pronged thing called Abenomics, and just a little rabbit trail. Rebranding.
Oh, I said great branding. I'm going to make a plan called Basilnomics.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to put some dots and connect them real quick. I know people hate it when I talk crypto, but there was a crypto hedge fund called 3 Arrows Capital, 3AC, Antichrist, ? Registered in Singapore. They actually declared bankruptcy on July 2nd, and they had like millions, I think it was maybe billions that they blew. Very irresponsible. But the 3 Arrows, the name is in honor of Abenomics, because Abenomics has this thing. It's the 3 Arrows policy or something. Hold on, let me see. I'm trying to get this website to work. Come on.
So he was involved in that.
He was,
or they subscribed to his Abenomics. First of all, you read this Abe thing. I kept thinking the guy was named Abe. I was like, oh my gosh, Abe Shinzo? Yeah. What a cool name.
Yeah. So yes, no, it's Abe. But the 3 Arrows of Abenomics, fiscal policy, monetary policy, structural change. Those are his 3 arrows. And so this crypto hedge fund that was named after him goes down a few days ago, and then now Abe gets shot. And we'll get into the details. It's just some weird, I don't know, coincidence. I don't know. I don't really think there are many coincidences out there, but possible.
Now, I don't know if you have this article. I don't want to interrupt your flow if you have a flow, but I did find an article that came out at 1:30 today that apparently the killer came out with his motive.
I don't know if the full motive. Go ahead, because I do have a couple articles about
just
the killer.
Real quick. Sure. I'll just mention it just because I'm so curious about this. This is coming from the NewYorkPost.com, posted at 1:30, so just a little bit ago. Yeah. Headline: Motive in assassination of former Japan PM Shinzo Abe not political. The alleged assassin who shot dead Shinzo Abe on Friday believed the former Japanese prime minister was involved in a, quote, specific organization. End quote. And that his grudge wasn't political. The suspected killer, Tetsuya Yamagami, 41, was tackled to the ground just moments after, etc., etc., etc. And that's it. Police did not reveal the name of the organization or elaborate on what it believed in, adding it wasn't clear if the group even existed. The alleged assassin's grudge did not appear to be about politics. According to the police, Yamagami was calm as he responded to questions during his interview, and investigators are still trying to nail down whether he acted alone, police said. So he's 41 years old, talking about Abe being a part of an organization. Right. What is it? Specific organization. And the police saying, we don't even know if it's real. I mean, this straight up sounds like the Illuminati. He got him because he thought he was part of the Illuminati. And the police are like, yeah, we don't know if it's real or not, but wasn't political.
So I got a couple things about the shooter here. Let me actually go back to the Reuters real quick, because let me just make sure I don't have any other highlighted.
Oh my gosh. Chilling photos and video have emerged that allegedly show Yamagami standing behind Abe just moments before he opened fire with a homemade gun.
You didn't know this?
I didn't know this.
Okay. Let me just keep going.
He made a gun.
Yes, let me keep going.
Ghost gun.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I'm getting excited.
I know. So, first off, I got the New York Times here. Assassination shocks a nearly gun-free Japan. Okay. It says here, the assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe during the campaign rally in Western Japan was especially hard to fathom because it involved a gun, a type of crime that is extremely rare in a country with some of the most stringent laws on buying and owning firearms. Any form of violence is unusual in Japan, but gun violence is almost unheard of. There was only one firearm-related death in all of 2021. Since 2017, there have been 14 gun-related deaths, a remarkably low figure for a country of 125 million. And then later here, Japan's firearm law states that in principle, guns are not permitted in the country. There are exceptions for guns used in hunting, but the process of getting a license is time-consuming and expensive, so very few people go through the hassle. A person must pass 12 steps before purchasing a firearm. And it goes through the whole thing, and it's pretty extensive in what you would expect. The shooting was all the more shocking because before Friday, even the idea of a political murder seemed like a relic of a long gone era. Tempers rarely run high in Japan's famously sedate politics. And then it goes on here. And then let's see. Unlike the United States, where gun rights are a constant topic of debate, firearms are rarely discussed in Japanese political circles. Mass killings, in the rare instances when they occur, usually do not involve guns. Instead, perpetrators resort to arson or stabbings. So
there's a guy better over there. There's one that happened last year. Wasn't it last year? He dressed up like the Joker and started lighting the subway on fire with people inside of it.
And the people are filming him inside the train, and he was smoking a cigarette. Yeah, I mean,
I want to say that guy had a gun, but his biggest thing was he was lighting the place on fire.
I think they thought he had a gun. It was like a knife or something. Later here, most Japanese people almost never encounter guns day to day. It's even tough for police officers to carry guns. And until Mr. Abe's shooting, Japan had almost no experience with the emotional and political aftermath of gun violence, something that has become a familiar ritual in the United States. New York Times calling gun violence a ritual. So I thought that was pretty telling.
The picture of the guard getting him, and you can see his fake gun.
I got real close pictures of his fake gun, by the way. If you want to see
his fake gun is really interesting and brings up a lot of interesting philosophy about guns. Like, even if you ban the gun, you cannot ban the idea of a gun. And, the mechanisms of gun are actually incredibly simple. There is a very simple machine. It's not hard to sort of imagine how one could find a way to make it happen. But in that picture, it's funny because the guard who's grabbing the guy has a gun holstered on his belt there.
Yeah, usually officer types and, their intelligence people have guns.
Right, yeah.
So let me just skip over to this article from News 18. Tetsuya Yamagami, who shot Japan ex-PM Shinzo Abe, used handmade gun, served in Japanese Navy. Another sort of pattern that we're familiar with over here, which is, people in military or have military experience being, I don't know, mind controlled or PTSD or something to invoke an emotional response that causes violence of this kind of thing. So, we don't have to read this, but I there's just a lot going on here. And I do have, let me get to my notes. There was a Twitter thread that went through and showed pictures and talked about the gun. Let me just try to find that exact. Yeah, while you do that, there's also a picture here that shows the one they were talking about, that you can see the assassin kind of casually standing behind the XPM while he's making the speech. And he has he's got a big strap around his shoulder. And you learn later, this is the strap that was holding the gun. It's almost like he just was openly carrying this thing around, and they're so like not tuned in to seeing it. It's like nobody saw it. Well, it's really weird. It doesn't look like something dangerous. Like it looks like a toy. It looks like a kid. Yeah, like my daughter put it together with a couple tubes from a toilet paper thing or something, or paper towels. I cannot get this tweet feed to work. So, there's the gun. Oh, I just closed the tab. Okay. Well, it's okay. So let me see here. Getting thrown off my rhythm. So a couple things to keep in mind here. The shooter's name, Tetsuya Yamagami. Very interesting name because, and I tweeted this out, so I'll read the tweet here and I'll talk about it. I said, I'm sure this is nothing. Shinzo Abe's shooter's name is Tetsuya Yamagami. Tetsuya means philosophy or intelligence. Yamagami means mountain, or Yama means mountain. Gami can mean God, spirit. It can mean up. And somebody pointed it out in the thread that Gami, the kanji. So, okay, Japanese is kind of a complicated language. I don't know if you know this, Basil. I'm imagining my ancestors, at the Tower of Babel, when God mixed the languages. My ancestors were the ones that got really, confused. You got two of them. Yeah, you got two separate alphabets. Three, if you count actually, we have three. We have kanji, hiragana, katakana. So yes, three of them. And so in Japanese, you can have a word like Yamagami, right? That's a word that phonetically in the West is just one word, right? Yamagami. Yep. Now, Yama in the kanji is fairly straightforward. It's mountain. But depending on the gami, like what kanji is used, it can mean mountain, or it can mean up or above, or it can mean God's mind, soul. So in this case, apparently this guy's name in the kanji is the mountain up and above, not the God. But I mean, what are we talking? Mountain above, it's kind of the same thing, right? Sure. As above, but so still, below. His name could mean like central intelligence, intellect. Or like an intelligence from above. Yeah, intelligence from above. Yeah, right. It's like, are you kidding me, man? So I thought that was just strange, considering as I was mentioned before about the spiritual war that's taking place. Here's a question. Yeah. About Japanese culture. Now we can break this down and we say like, his name was intelligence from above, but does that like come to mind in Japanese culture? Like, I don't think so. Would a Japanese person be like, "Ooh, isn't it weird? His name was intelligence from above." Probably not, because a lot of times names in Japan are it's sort of they're more seen as names, just straight names, not right, because like you don't think about it here. Yeah, like in the U.S., if you were given a name at Ellis Island or something like Taylor, right, it's because you were a tailor, right? You tailored clothes, right? But when you say my name's Bob Taylor, nobody's like, ooh, his name is famous clothes maker, right. So there's that interesting little coincidence, I suppose you can call it. Okay. Let's see. Where's my notes here? Okay, I have beautiful drawing of a mermaid. Is that a mermaid? We haven't locked down the babysitter yet, folks, as you can tell. Well, technically there is. It's just not working. So where am I? What am I doing? Oh, so the name Abe, Shinzo Abe, Shinzo, if you look at the kanji, means safe and double. So double safe, Shinzo Abe. And then Abe means sun festival. So maybe it's a body double.
That's why he's safe.
Maybe.
Because it was a double that was shot. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So, and part of it too, which going back to the topic of the conservatism thing, if you go to the Wikipedia page for Shinzo Abe, it says this article is being heavily edited because of the subject passing away recently. So, there's some caveats up here, but I don't think they changed the part that I was looking at, because it says here,
No, keep going.
It says here, Abe, I did it. Abe was a conservative whom political commentators widely described as a right-wing Japanese nationalist. So, as a summary here, so far, let's see, we have a potential conservative martyr here, right? He was the Reuters article saying he wants to restore the economy with a conservative agenda in Japan, and he got to 2/3 of that agenda. This third part he didn't really complete, and there's other articles talking about that. And then you have this ability for the West and the Western audience to say, "Look, Japan's got all these really, really strict gun laws, and look what happened." Look what happened, right? That narrative
so as
gets
a
played.
martyr for conservatism can be used as sort of a weapon against the gun control stuff.
Yes, and because he's a nationalist, and by the way, he's a Japanese nationalist, not the same thing as an American nationalist, but all nationalists bad in the mainstream, right? So it's just strange to me that the theme that we've been seeing recently is a sort of formation of a conservative movement. And now we have, and I don't know that it's going to be, consistently considered. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. I don't know that Abe's murder here is going to be considered some kind of martyr by the right and conservatives leaning political people here, but it can be. It's there. It's there for the taking, so to speak. And I'm sure there's some conservative commentators who have already made the point about how, hey, look they got the most strict gun laws and they still made guns. I think this is based on the internet story we just had about internet censorship. I would imagine that what we'll learn more about is how this guy found out how to make a gun online. Remember Obama? Anyone can go online and make a bomb, become a terrorist, Right. That whole sentiment is also part of it, I think. Monitoring online activity, search results, that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the solution, which is the trap that I've seen conservatives, they take the bait every time, which is like, oh, look, we got this great argument, but what they're actually not promoting per se, but what they're asking for is more surveillance to solve the problem, you know? So anyway, that's pretty much all of it, I think.
No, it's very interesting. And it's very interesting how big of news this was around the world.
Yeah.
And I think it fits in I think the reason it was such big news in the US was because he was a conservative. He was pals with Trump.
Yes. That's the line I wanted to read.
It was a gun issue.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Did I lose the paywall? Oh no, I lost the paywall. Okay. But back to the Reuters article, there was a part there where it said that Shinzo spoke with Trump, played golf with him, they're buddy. So that was interesting too.
Yeah.
And then of course, just for no reason other than maybe signaling, Al Jazeera here, Japanese yen rises as investors seek haven after Abe's shooting. Japanese currency advances to 135.33 per dollar after former Japanese prime minister taken to hospital. I mean, come on. Come on.
That is interesting. I wonder why that would be.
Well, think about
understand Japanese economics very well.
And then you have this move economically right after he gets shot, and the price goes to 135.33. I don't know. I'm just pointing out things.
And he was in a secret organization.
Yeah, secret organization.
You have to sort of assume that whatever the secret organization is, it had something to do with Trump. I mean, he was buddy with Trump.
Right. All right. So all these things are very, very strange. And
it is.
How old was he?
Abe?
Yeah. 67?
61, I thought you said. Yeah.
61 or 67. Another man in his 60s.
Yeah.
Just going to keep pointing that out because it comes up again later on.